Hi guys, Harry Sunday here, letting you know that there's a apparel company that supports the game that you love. It's called thereisonlyonefootball.com, guys. They've got all sorts of stuff, from caps, t-shirts, water bottles, all sorts of accessories, even for your mobile phone. All that sporting stuff you can wear anywhere you want to wear it, guys. That's right. And don't forget the website it's on, thereisonlyonefootball.com.
There is only one football!
That playing any games,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, right now, and welcome to Football S. We've got some special guests. We're going to the other side of the world. They've been talking between themselves. We've had this, the Gremlins, Carlos. You know what the Gremlins are like, don't you? They always come out at some stage. But we're back here, guys. We've got Angelo Picca, all the way from Italy. Buonasera, signore. Good morning. Where are you?
Harry, how are you? It's a pleasure to be on Football S and also with Carlos, because
Yes.
I know Carlos is such a knowledgeable person, and
Exactly.
I thank you so much for organising this. And I'm sitting here in Italy. It is 10:30 in the morning.
Good
And
morning.
I'm
as I said,
37 kilometres from Napoli. Yeah,
Beautiful. Naples. Carlos, welcome tonight.
Naples.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be able to share my thoughts with you, Harry.
Of course.
And with your amazing host. So thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Now, gentlemen, we have to go to a very somber mood tonight, because one of Melbourne's legends of the game, we are talking about Ulysses Kokkinos, also a friend of mine, has passed away today at 73 years of age. Very sad today. We couldn't play any music. We've put up the South Melbourne colours tonight because of the passing of Ulysses. Very good man. The best thing about this is I knew him quite well, and what's happened is I'm just very saddened. My heart is in my mouth, whatever, as they say. Ulysses was a great man. I was playing drums at South Melbourne at the time when he saw me. Always put smiles on his face. He always would be there in his blazer. I don't want to cry, actually, but let me just say that he is a legend of that club. He also was a legend throughout Australia, playing in different clubs as well. So to Carlos and Angelo, I had to say a few things about when this happens. It's just mind-blowing that something like this, a great man, Carlos.
No, absolutely. The people have a connection with the community, and they lead by example. And Ulysses was one person who led by example. And I don't think anyone had anything nasty to say about Ulysses as a person as a human being.
That's right. He was one of the best players during the 60s and early 70s. He was the player of. They used to call him the Messi or the George Best of Victoria. So there you go. Came from Greece many years ago, made his name over here, and as it is, we do this show tonight with no music, being very somber with him and everything. So I'll also have some apologies tonight, guys. We can't get Steve Zorich on, and we can't get Frothy on, because these two guys have actually contracted COVID. So we are very sorry if you don't see him. They've contracted COVID. So, guys, we're sorry. Hopefully next week we'll have them on. So that's what we'll be doing, having them on with and yeah, another legend of the game. What's his name? Chris. Well, I'm forgetting it because of what's happened today with Ulysses. Chris Calavatidis will be on next week, guys. So now, Angelo, we're calling over from Italy right now. We want to actually talk about the A-League. Now, of course, we know that we are having a lot of problems in this country with the A-League. A lot of people have had a gutful of this. Whether you are an NSL supporter, an A-League supporter, with the former NSL clubs, I want to know what your opinion is right now, people not turning up to the game, or is it the marketing situation?
Well, Harry, it's very sad because, just over 15 years ago, we kick-started the A-League and, Frank Lowy and John O'Neill, Matt Carroll, those people, they were focusing mainly on the marketability of the game because there was nothing wrong with the standard. I mean, you guys and know yourselves, Carlos, all the players that we had prior to that, and then they shut down the old NSL.
Yes.
We had a 1.5 year break and we concentrated on the marketing. I think right now, a lot of the clubs and the A-League committee, I don't know, I think now they've got a separate committee. They've forgotten about the simple marketing strategies, going to the community, creating a rapport, creating the fraternity and the family of football is now not turning up. And
Exactly.
we used to do things like at Adelaide United, the logo. We had a nice swoosh and with the Champions League logo, and then we had the slogan, the people's team, because it was really a club that was made for the people.
Yes.
And the people's team gave them a sense of belonging. And I think we've lost track, or we sort of hopped off the train recently.
Yes, we have now. Now, you actually were involved at Adelaide United. Now, before we go on, guys, who's got the speaker on? Because the speaker's actually feeding through who's got their speaker on listening to it? If you guys can turn it down, if you can. Yeah, gentlemen?
I don't have the speaker on.
Carlos,
no.
Do you have any music they're playing or something?
Yeah, I'll just go to the other room.
If you can, yeah. It's just basically spreading through the thing. So,
Yeah.
So as Carlos is going, what I want to ask you is, you were involved at Adelaide United at the time. You were involved there, Angelo. So you were the CEO, is that right? The CEO of the club.
That's right. Firstly, I was the marketing director, serving on the board of management.
Yes.
And then during the period of formation, I was the first general manager, the CEO, negotiating and going to all the meetings with Frank Lowy and John O'Neill, because, like when we had that 1.5 years shutdown, there was no league. We were actually working on the strategies, marketing, and how to enhance appeal, to the public, not just to the soccer fraternity, but just outside that soccer fraternity as well, so that we could have a mass appeal of the game. And yes, I was involved at the kickstart of Adelaide United. And as I said to you, Harry, you and I were talking about off air about the logo.
Exactly.
That's a very, very important communication, to the public. I mean, the logo communicates what the club represents,
Yes.
what the club is, and where it's going. And also, the slogan's very important.
Exactly.
As I said, we had the people's team. And everybody felt part of Adelaide United, and everybody felt part of Adelaide United because we went out to the community. We didn't wait for people to turn up at the gates. We actually took the whole team to train at the local NPL clubs.
There you go.
For example, one night, just to mention one quickly, Modbury, which is a club that's on the northern side of Adelaide.
Yes.
We took Adelaide United there. They put on a barbie, and there was nearly 2,000 people. And I do not exaggerate, nearly 2,000 people to watch Adelaide United train at Modbury. And then we gave away 50 tickets to the committee, to the players. And that's a simple thing about it. You're not going to lose money over it. You're just going to gain.
Exactly. Now, Carlos, as you can see what they used to do down at Adelaide United, the players going out to the community, we don't see that no more, Carlos. What do you think of that situation, doing this sort of stuff?
Look, we don't see it is because it doesn't get publicised. But I know that the Wanderers and Sydney have a schools program where players go and have coaching clinics at different primary schools. It doesn't seem to get publicised as much. I do think that 15 years ago, after 18 months of hibernation, everyone was waiting for soccer to be reborn.
I'm
And
glad.
when it did come, we flocked to the stand because we're starved of football. I also think that in 2020 and since 15 years ago, people have become more time poor. They seem to be working longer hours to make ends meet, which means that they might not don't always have the time to go and watch football. And then James Johnson takes over, and
Yes.
everyone applauded his appointment because there's a football person who has a was in the play for the young Socceroos and had a legal background, was with the City Group, was with FIFA. He had the runs on the board, so everyone applauded his appointment after the controversial days of David Carlo.
Yes.
Rightly or wrongly, he was there. He did a job he had to do, and then we get the perfect storm. We get COVID-19.
Mm.
Hundreds of jobs go out of the window. The league is truncated. It gets shut down. Player wages are cut to survive. We ride the storm. Then the clubs who for years and years have been asking to be the masters of their own destiny. And I attended a football writers conference in which one club chairman said the contract we signed with the A League many years ago was a one-way contract. We gave a lot, received little. Now we're the makers of our own destiny.
Yes.
And then the clubs take over. The Jets, for whatever reason, we don't up the propping up the Jets. Then the second wave of COVID-19 hits, another wave of job losses.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for one, have a press pass, and I will go to every game in Sydney. One week will be the Gogra, Sydney. The next week, the next day, I'll go to Wanderers. But I stopped going because I have an elderly mother who I need to look after, and
Yes.
she's relying on me for her weekly shopping.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people, we say the poor crowds, but every code is suffering
I do understand that.
in terms of numbers are down. And I think it is one is the economic situation. People have lost jobs, and new jobs that have come on board, and our treasurer and the PM
Yes.
boast about so many jobs in the pandemic. These jobs are poorly paid jobs, insecure jobs in the gig economy.
Exactly.
So then the people, if they have the money, they are holding back because they're uncertain as to what's going to happen. And yes, perhaps the league has gone stale a little bit. We rested on the laurels and we lost a lot of gloss. But I think everyone is dismissing the impact of COVID-19 on the people's psyche
Yes.
to go and mix. But maybe I'm wrong, but I agree. Marketing is a key ingredient in the equation to make things happen. And if it is happening, the punter, the average person doesn't know what we're doing.
Yes.
When was the last time Sydney had a barbecue? I don't know.
Mm.
I've never been to one.
I get you now.
But I'm sure they go to schools, and I'm sure they do
Yes.
community work. They go to hospitals. They give teddy bears out to sick kids, But it's not. If they do the marketing, it's the best kept secret of all times.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
What
absolutely.
what I want to say to you, Angelo, and Carlos right now is this. Before COVID was coming out, people out there were saying no one wants to go to the games. No one wants to go to the game at all. The A-League is struggling. The A-League is failing. I just want to mention these things for a couple of minutes. I believe that we have lost the identity of this game. And I'm going to upset lots of people tonight. You can swear at me, you can do what you like, but let me just say
No, we
this
won't
right
swear.
now. I'm not you guys. That's no problem. But what I'm about to say is, I know for a fact, the name A-League, to me, I'm trying to find out to myself, A-League. Are we an A-League of butchers? Are we an A-League of carpenters, carpet layers? Who are we? And this is the identity situation where I understand. This gentleman, Mr. Lowy, decided to say, well, we're going to name this franchises as the A-League. Let me just say what the A-League means. Absolutely nothing. When I go back and say to myself, the National Soccer League, I go back and say to myself, Major League Soccer in America, that explains to you what game that is. People are going to get upset with me right now to say soccer. Now, I say soccer because we recognise that game as that game in this country. We have too many football codes, and if we can actually find a way, Angelo and Carlos, to identify the game what it is. And I will tell you right now, I listen to SEN radio every day. SEN radio. We're going to talk about the English soccer. We're going to talk about A-League soccer. We're going to talk about this soccer. They still use that name. And I can tell you, the big fight started with, of course, Johnny Warren. And we all know this, right? Johnny Warren used to say, the beautiful game, football. Let's call it football. Hang on for a sec, Johnny. I know that you'll be coming down and cursing me from heaven. But I tell you right now, everyone outside there, the game is very different in this country. It needs a name. We have lost the identity of this game here. Now, Angelo, what do you think?
Harry, I agree with a lot of the things that you're saying. Like I think that back in 2004-05, John O'Neill and Frank Lowy, they decided they did a bit of a scientific research out in the Australian public, and they called it the A-League because they could relate to, for example, Carlos, you've got the J League with Japanese, you've got the K League, Korean League, you've got the S League, Singapore, and so on. In Italy, calcio means kick. So I think Harry, you're right, because we need to identify ourselves amongst all the other codes like rugby league, rugby union, AFL. They call it the Australian Football League. They don't call it Aussie rules.
That's right.
They call it the Australian Football League. And we need to identify ourselves and really take a slice of the market. Because, what Carlos was saying before, I really brought back a lot of memories. When we kick-started that A-League, everybody was starved. There was fresh new shirts, fresh new logos. It was appealing. It was marketed. A lot of the media followed it because it was new, fresh. It was Australianised. No offence to anybody, because in Adelaide we try to South Australianise the team. We try to make it an affinity with the community. And to answer you, Harry, the question is, even this logo they've got, there's no identity. It's got nothing to do with the round ball.
Can I just ask? Can I stop you there for a sec? And Carlos listens. And I've said this to a lot of people, and a lot of people say it looks like a cricket bat and ball. Okay. Well,
exactly. No, what I was just saying, I mean, when you've got a logo, that is a communication symbol, that represents, when people see it on a billboard or on TV, on in the papers, that sort of thing, it's supposed to identify what the sport is, what the code is. And I think that, look, I'm sorry, I don't know who's involved in this new subcommittee that runs the A-League, but I think they've made a blunder here, because we need to look at the future. We need to look at the future. The kids and the mass sports fans that we want to target. And I think the logo is very important.
It is very important.
I think they've made a gross error here. I don't know who's responsible, but they really should have sampled. I'm nearly finished, Harry. They should have gone out to the community, done the scientific part, get the samples out, get the people's opinion, how should it look, what it should be. And I don't know whether they did that.
Well, right now, and Carlos is watching, I'm sure he's watching something. On my right-hand side, it could be on the left-hand side if you're watching, there is the symbol of the game. The symbol of the game is right here. I'm pointing it right up here, and I will point it there, and people are looking right. The symbol of the game is a ball. And isn't that right? The symbol of the game is a ball itself. How many times have used the ball in so many different logos? This is what I'd like to know. And they could have used the soccer ball, or the football, if you want to call it that as well, but they could have used the ball in a way where I've also got it on this actually fantastic 1974 replica shirt that's available right now. The replica shirt, it has a soccer ball on there as well, and it's the old soccer ball, and they're available for $75. If you like these shirts, guys, they're $75. Check out the colours I'm wearing, the 74 shirt. But Carlos, tell me, you've told me on many occasions, that logo, you say it's controversial, you like it, it's different.
Well, I think the Australian Professional League, which is a new entity that runs the league, we had this divorce last year from FA with the clubs, very amicable divorce at the request of the clubs. So we kind of adopted the English model where the Premier League is run by the clubs and the English FA runs the rest of the competition. So the clubs are now in charge of their own destiny. And I think the logo is a masterstroke, not from a traditional football point of view, because I think that whoever the clubs, the APL hierarchy, are agent provocateurs in a sense, because they design a logo that is really left field, because it's nothing like it. It doesn't look like football. It has an A that looks like an A, that's something that drops like a little ball, but it's got people talking. And yes, it hasn't got anyone on side. And then another win for the APL is to be able to sell a third share to this in equity advertising company for $130 million.
My God.
So I think we need to give time for the APL to find his feet, and the logo, it's there. Well, we don't know what processes took place to come up with the logo and what consultation took place, but I'm sure it was designed to create controversy, to get people talking, and then if you get people talking, it leads to the brand awareness.
Now, the brand awareness is. I could go back to the Australian Soccer Federation right now, and Angelo, you would know that far back as well, and I'm sure Carlos does. The Australian Soccer Federation, to me, they had a marketing, and you of course in the NSL was the Australian Soccer Federation. Can we compare the A-League to the NSL, and people working at the time for the NSL and the A-League? What have you found different? What you've seen, Angelo?
Well, I think going back in hindsight, when Frank Lowy wanted to give it that fresh look, that new look, and divorce the new league from the old league. Although you and I, Harry, talked off air, you can't have the future without the past.
That's right.
I mean, they actually divorced. A lot of people got offended. A lot of clubs with solid grassroots like South Melbourne, Sydney Olympic, Sydney United, and there's many others, Brisbane City. They did get Adelaide City. They did get offended, but they really tried to do something for the game, and it was the marketing. I mean, after all, those people like John O'Neill, with all due respects, I know him, Matt Carroll, they were rugby people.
That's right.
They never really had the passion for the sport. Right, whereas the people in the past, like the Australian Soccer Federation, they were football people.
Yes.
Who had the passion. Maybe they weren't working full time,
yes.
To make the game grow.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys were total professionals. But at the end of the day, they left after 2 years.
Yes.
They gave it 2 years, 24 months, and then John O'Neill left, and he went back to rugby. The thing that really strikes me is that we need to get people with business acumen, with a little bit of, a lot of business acumen, but you need to be football people, people
Exactly.
that have the passion and
Yes.
they can actually transpire that passion and to make the game grow, Harry.
Exactly.
It's all about development, make the game grow. And I think that's where I think we've lost ourselves a little bit. I'm sorry.
We have.
Oh, look, I don't live in Australia. I haven't lived there for 12 years, but I love the sport. I'm still involved here in Italy. and I love Adelaide United, but I just seem to think that these guys have hopped up the train. That we've lost something, and when now the crowds, we're losing the crowds because even before Carlos, even before COVID,
dwindling.
the crowds were going downhill.
They were.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason.
I'm going to go back to the NSL right now. The clubs at that time were all about community. They were all about ethnic communities. I understand they were trying to make the clubs Australianised, whatever. They tried to change the names in the NSL. People wouldn't have it. And I know for a fact in Italy, of course, some clubs are called via their ethnic names. Is that right, Angelo? Of course, you're there now. You know, there's also a Hellas. There's also a Hellas there. Yeah. A Hellas. Is that right? A Hellas?
There is.
And
yes, Hellas Verona.
I can't understand what they're trying to prove here. What they've done now is gone back again. You can use your old names again. You can use them again. But hang on. You guys out there, and of course, I used to call it the Lowy cartel. I'll call it the Lowy cartel, where you wanted to destroy the clubs. As far as I'm concerned, the clubs are just hanging on right now. Both of you know the clubs are hanging on through COVID and what's going on. I can understand the A-League. They've got probably a bit of money there to keep it going for a while. But what I can't understand is this. We need to get a second division. These clubs are the clubs that will hold the game together again. And that's what I'm saying, is that these are community clubs. These are people who used to go there on a Sunday or a Saturday and watch the games as a community, as their own communities, multiculturalism and that sort of stuff going through there. And this is what we miss completely. We miss this sort of stuff, Angelo. And you're seeing this in Italy right now. The passion in Italy for the game. They call Hellas Verona and other names and whatever that they are. You know yourself, it's a tribal game, the game. It's a tribal game. Is that right?
Absolutely. I think when they'll start this second division, they can't ignore South Melbourne, Sydney Olympic, Sydney United, Adelaide City,
that's right,
Brisbane City. They're going to be the backbone, and obviously promotion, relegation, right? And these teams, like you said before, they try to destroy them, but you can't destroy them. There's 50, 60 years of history there, and these clubs are still there.
That's right.
So I think they're going to be part of the growth and development of the game. But let's hope that the second division does have money, because I think as little as they must have at least $2-3 million budget.
Well,
to run the clubs,
Let me tell you, and Carlos in a moment too, get you on. I got some information today from a journalist. I'm not going to spread it out today about the second division. I'm going to be saying something about that next week because I've got to write out a lot of stuff. I cannot believe what I saw today. And the journalist said, please, Harry, do not tell anyone it came from me. So this is actually a slip-up somewhere. And I will be mentioning what's going on with the second division next Monday night. Hopefully Throthy's here, and we will have a guest in the studio as well, and a big name guest from the 1978 South Melbourne side. Now, Carlos, your opinion? The game is tribal. You know yourself. You come from a Latin country, and you know the communities are communities. Part of these clubs are communities. This is what we are lacking in the A-League. What do you think, Carlos?
Well, I think the difference in the Australian landscape is, yes, the game is tribal in Europe and in South America, but remember, we in South America, soccer is played 11 months of the year.
Yes.
I remember when I came to Sydney in 1977 from Uruguay, and I went to my first day at school, and I had to choose summer sport. And I went, where is football? Oh, it's not football. It's too hot. So I went to play water polo. So the tribalism that the Europeans have is because of the rich history of football. We're a new country, number one. We're just over 200 years if we take the benchmark as white Australia. But then children are spoiled for choice in playing sport. It comes summer, we got surfing, we got cricket, we got tennis, where the Europeans, the Uruguayans, the Argentinians, everyone plays football. No one plays anything else. And if you play rugby, and there's cricket in Uruguay, and there's cricket in Argentina, but it's for the mega wealthy kids who go to the
Yes.
old Christian brothers.
Yes.
So the sporting landscape here is totally different because come away from winter and we race off to the summer sports, little athletics. So that link between it's broken for 6 months because then we go and play cricket or we go
Yes.
little athletics or we go surfing. And then a lot of these children who are keen football players don't come back because who knows? So I think we need to look at uniqueness of the landscape where the weather determines your choices.
Now,
And we don't have a history of 11 months of the year of football.
Exactly what
Hopefully with the second division, and I'm hoping that the second division is played not concurrently with the ESL, NSL, but hopefully after the A-League finishes or with the State League. So it's at least 11 months of continuous football, whereas the A-League 6 months, then we got the State League. But a lot of people just drift away to summer sports. And I think that's the difference between tribalism and the European way of life, where football is the number one religion.
now
John Montemurro said something 2 weeks ago. He loves Italy because he goes to a bar and everyone is talking about the game. You go to the pub on a Friday, it might be the rugby league game we're talking about, or Collingwood, the St Kilda,
Yes.
if you're in St Kilda. But no one talks about Sydney FC v Wanderers at
Yes.
the pub because it's so new. I think the culture needs to grow, and it will grow. At the moment, I think we're truncated by the lack of continuity of football.
Yes. Now let me just mention something that you said, Carlos, and I'm sure that Angelo will elaborate on this right now. A few years ago, Besart Berisha came to the country to play in this country. Okay, Besart Berisha, of course, people know who Besart Berisha is. Of course, Angelo, you know who Besart Berisha is. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Now let me tell you his words. His word says, "I can't believe I came here. I never had a long off season the way it is here." That's what he said. So when you said 11 months, Carlos, 11 months, and this is what Besart Berisha was expecting to have the same sort of months playing in Germany when he's playing, I think, second division at the time. So he was even saying that himself, that we don't play enough here. And this is the thing about this, Angelo, not to play. And I know Carl Veert has commentated on this and said that we don't have enough teams to play enough of the games here. Wouldn't have enough teams to play enough games. He's saying that three clubs, put it this way, two clubs have to play each other 3 times. Now, come on, that is ridiculous. So, I mean, the more games, the more exposure of the game, Angelo, and I think that's the case here, that we don't play enough of the game to keep it going and promoted.
Absolutely, because then there's coverage of the media and all the media and newspapers and all of that sort of thing. You know, when we first started, there was only 10 teams. And like
Yes.
you said, Harry, you had to play each other 3 times. There was only 22 games
Yes.
over a season, 20 weeks. I mean, that is just not enough.
It's nothing.
I mean, you know, our game deserves more. I mean, everybody knows the obvious thing that, you know, we're the biggest participating sport. We're the number 2 in the whole country.
That's
if you look at, you know, like all the other codes and that sort of thing, you can't compare it with cricket.
You can't.
But at the moment, it's really a very important time for our code, because we've had nearly 20 years of the A-League, right? The expectation is that we need to see growth. We need to see development. We need to see the sport a bit higher on the profile, you know,
Exactly.
in comparison to AFL, rugby league, rugby union. You know, I think at the moment we're being choked by some of these stale decisions. And,
Yes.
you know, I'm sorry, but the direction of the game, the administration, the governing body needs to wake up, and we really need to create really important rapports with the government, because FIFA, when you look at FIFA, you know, like some time ago. I don't know whether you guys remember, but Sepp Blatter, who was the old
Yes.
CEO there, now it's Infantino,
He's in
he
jail.
came across and said, Australia's not serious about the sport.
Exactly.
Now, we all know how much of a contribution FIFA can give a country in
Yes,
terms of economic money and all that sort of thing. And our game does need money.
it does.
But if you don't have a rapport with the government, you need to do it together with the government, create a nice relationship. And unfortunately, we've got a toothless governing body. I'm sorry. I know
true.
I live in Italy and, someone can't smack me in the face
I know
right
what
this
you're saying.
minute.
I know what you're
But
saying.
unfortunately, I love the game, and I'm seeing the game going backwards.
The thing about this is that are we going to learn from the NSL? It's like we spoke off camera what you're saying. Learn from the past, go to the future. I mean, the thing is, they've not learnt anything. They've learnt nothing whatsoever. And what I don't understand is too, and Carlos, I'll tell you, why would they actually separate the A-League, okay, as it is right now, separate it from the FFA? I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, don't, and you would know yourself, Angelo, in Italy, the Confederation of Italy, the Association of Italy, are they involved in the, say, of the Serie A? Are they involved? Do they run the Serie A? Why do they run it? You would know that.
Yeah, no, there's only one governing body here. It's a Federazione Italiana Gioco Calcio, FIGC. That's it.
And they run they run the Serie A?
Absolutely.
Well, there you
Absolutely.
go. There's a difference right now. There you go. Carlos?
Well, I think you need to, the model that the Australian Premier League, or as the clubs call themselves, to run the league, is they looked at, they wanted independence. They wanted to be able to run their own destiny. Remember, FA has the veto over fixtures, has veto power over new teams coming in. So, and FA still has the power, but the APL, in essence, runs the league as the English Premier League does, separate from their English FA.
Yes.
And the clubs wanted to be in charge of their own destiny, set their own budgets. The salary cap is another issue that caused a lot of controversy. The clubs were not receiving any of the merchandise money from the shirts sold at the grounds. It was going to FA. So the clubs wanted to be in charge of their destiny. They have that. And FA is their overarching body that regulates the game. And the clubs choose to run the league. It is a unique model because it's modeled in the English Premier League. We can't compare the Premier League to us, but it is a model that worked well for the Premier League. And look, the amount of sponsorship money they pull in every year from the various broadcasters. So it is an unusual model, but the clubs wanted to have the independence. Now they have it. Now they have to show you and me and the rest of the punters that they have what it takes to bring us back to the stands.
Well,
the only thing, Carlos,
go on.
I'm sorry, Harry. The only thing, Carlos, I want to answer you on that. The old NSL used to have that, and as you know, they used to go back to Sir Arthur George,
That's right.
and it didn't work because a lot of clubs folded. I'm sorry, I don't want to be negative, but you compared it with the English Premier League, and Carlos, you're dead right. That's been running for years, and that runs smoothly, and they attract a lot of big sponsors. But I think in the A-League, I think that's a step backwards. They really shouldn't have divorced themselves from the governing body because it's a big testing time now for them. They need to find their way. They need to find sponsors. And I'm afraid there's one fear I have, Carlos, and that is that the strong clubs will get stronger and the weaker clubs will remain there. There will be no balance, right, in the growth of the whole league. Whereas if you have a governing body saying we need to grow as a league, like 20 teams or 10 teams, 15 teams, that's my fear. I hope that I'm wrong. But that is my fear.
Only time will tell as to which way we go. But I think the salary cap, it's the biggest equalizer because each club has the same budget to play around with it. Where if the bigger clubs, if it was carte blanche, the bigger clubs like the Barcelona of the yesteryear and Real Madrid will buy the best players and leave the other ones to pick up the crumbs. So
Yes.
only time will tell, and it is an unusual model, and it's up to the APL to sink or swim. I hope they swim
Well,
and succeed.
I don't know what's going to happen in the next few weeks. Now with we're out of and that game on the weekend. Honestly, gentlemen, I saw that game on the weekend with Wellington Phoenix and Adelaide United, and I'm thinking to myself, how come? And I don't think you might have seen this, Angelo and Carlos. I could not believe that the other side of the ground at, of course, Cooper Stadium, we call it Hindmarsh Stadium, they had posters on the seats and they were empty. They had these covers on the seats with sponsors' names, and they had the listen to this, guys. If you want to laugh, you laugh your head off. And they had the crowd behind the cameras. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
I mean, even though there was about maybe just over 1,000 people, show that there's people there. Show that there's a little bit of passion there. To actually show that. I mean, who the hell are these people? Paramount Plus, are they trying to bring the game down? They're here to support the game, and that's what they've done. Instead of showing the cameras on the other side, or have these companies paid so much money that they want to see these massive signs. Come on, Angelo, that is ridiculous. Come on, that's just
absolutely
crazy.
That is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry, but we need to be brutally honest here. I remember back in the SBS old days, the late Johnny Warren and Les Murray at Hindmarsh Stadium, we actually put the scaffold up, and we set up a little box for them, commentary box, on the opposite side of the grandstand where there's 5,000 people when it's full, and they have televised the game from the opposite side. Like you're saying, Harry, like televising the game to empty seats is the worst marketing thing that you can ever do for sponsors, and nobody wants to see empty seats.
And
I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous.
And I just had some information there from our sponsor, David, who's our sponsor, saying they're rebuilding. Even if they're rebuilding, they've still got room on the other side to put a camera. I mean, what's the problem here? I mean, that's ridiculous. Carlos, what do you think of that?
Well, look, there, of course, the stadium is getting a facelift and the parts that are inaccessible. At the end of the day, Adelaide United makes the call, which Clive Palmer, when he ran Gold Coast United, remember?
Oh, yes.
He only opened one part of the stadium to save on ground hire.
Yes.
So Adelaide United makes the call which part of the stadium is to be open, and obviously one part is not open because of construction work. And yes, Paramount Plus has a 5-year deal, which costs a lot of money for them for the league, and they're on a learning curve because for some unknown reason they don't seem to hire a lot of former Fox Sports people, maybe a few commentators.
Yes.
But behind the commentators, there is a team of camera work and technicians that bring the game alive to the viewer. And at the moment, those background technicians are on a learning curve, and I think they're all new and they're learning the ropes. But hopefully they get it right, because there have been some hit and miss moments with Paramount Plus, they have to get it right.
I've heard of the coverage has been terrible. Even covering the FFA Cup, they're streaming. They are streaming games. They're not showing them on TV. Foxtel used to show them on Foxtel on their channels, the FFA Cup games. I mean, to me, we've gone backwards here, guys out there. If you're listening, we've gone backwards. I mean, it is ridiculous to see streaming games streamed. I mean, why would you stream something when you've got channels? If you've got channels, use your channels. They've got digital channels. I mean, that is ridiculous. I mean, when you had Foxtel, you could watch the FFA Cup on Foxtel, on the normal channel, on their own channels. I mean, we've gone backwards here. I mean, the coverage is terrible. I mean, Angelo, the coverage has changed completely in this country of the game,
I think, Harry, you're dead right. It's fundamental, and it's a critical time for our sport. that we love, and we need to package it up well. Carlos talked about the English Premier League. They've got boutique stadiums, but that's where we can learn. We don't need to sort of compare ourselves to the English Premier League, but
No,
we
we
can
don't.
learn so much
Exactly.
about how they package the game to entertain. I mean, we are a theatre. When people go to the game, it is like a theatre. Okay, they want to see a spectacle. They want to see entertaining. They want to see skills and this and that. And I think this is a critical time where we need to package our game
Yes.
and make it appealing and throw it out and get more people to the stadiums. I know that there's a COVID problem at the moment, but we need to prepare. We need to prepare ourselves for the future. We don't know. We sort of like can't sit back. I think it's a crucial time. It's sad to see the status of the game right now. You talked about, how we televise the game. I mean, please, does it have to be always soccer, if I can use that word soccer,
Yes.
in inverted commas, to suffer? Why is it that those guys weren't prepared? I mean, does it have to be the game that needs to take a step backwards before it makes 2 steps forwards? I don't know. I think that it's up to the APL, the committee, like Carlos was saying, that, they're working on it. I'm sure they've got a lot of people working on things, but we can't get this thing wrong, about, this thing about televising the game, that's really one of the strategies in marketing. I'm sorry, but I think we're suffering. The game is going backwards, definitely.
And what I want to also say before we wrap this show up, guys, is MacArthur Bulls are absolutely struggling to get people there. Carlos, MacArthur Bulls are charging $45 for people to get into the stadium. And I think they're charging kids $45 to get in as well. I mean, come on, Carlos, have you been to their games?
No.
Have you been to their games, Carlos? You must have been to some of their games.
I have been to their games, and they are struggling to get traction. And I'll say it now, and I said it before. The ticket price is wrong.
Exactly.
Unless you buy a season pass, you could buy, from Sydney. If you Sydney season pass, you could buy a 4-game, 6-game, or the whole lot. If you buy a 10-game or 12-game season pass, it's about $260, $280. That equates about $28 per game.
Yes. It doesn't.
In an hour and a half entertainment, that is okay. But if I get to pay $45 to $60 to walk in, that's way too much.
And
so
way too much.
Prices need to be looked at. And 2 for 1. I don't know. I'm not a mark, but the MacArthur Bulls are not getting traction in the local community, which is a shame because the MacArthur area the Bulls were given the gig because of the demographics of MacArthur, which will have a population of close to Canberra of around 300,000, with the airport only 15 to 20 k's away at Badger's Creek. So the demographics were there for a team to thrive. They have a stadium next to a train line, so easy access with a huge car park. But ticketing, it's wrong. You can't $40 walk into a game, which you're not. If you guarantee that Entertainment Plus, you pay $150 to see Pink or Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, but you're going to an hour and a half of full-on entertainment.
Yes.
So ticketing prices need to be looked at. Maybe 2 for 1. I don't know. But I had a mate who paid $65 to watch Sydney FC and Melbourne City last year. And he said, I'm not paying $65 anymore.
It's ridiculous.
It's way too much. And people are hurting in the hip pocket. So they're way too expensive. Therefore, if the prices are high, it discourages consumption, and which is the purchase of tickets.
That's right. Now, I have another problem that I found out in the last week as well. And living in Queensland for so many years, for 30 years in Queensland, and knowing that Brisbane Roar play there, right? Now, I know for a fact that they were playing at Lang Park. We're talking about Lang Park, ANZ Stadium, whatever Suncorp Stadium. Okay, I've been there, okay? Now, let me tell you guys right now is that the biggest stuff up of Brisbane Roar right now is that what they've done is they've gone to Redcliffe. We are talking Redcliffe Dolphins that are playing in the rugby league, the local rugby league in Queensland, right? And they're using that stadium. And that stadium, Carlos and also Angelo, it's over about from the city, nearly an hour away from the city. Now, with no transport, no public transport, nothing whatsoever. I mean, and then I'm looking at the game. What is this, 1,000 people? You've got to be joking. Now, how have they... you say they've got it all wrong, Angelo. They've got this massively wrong here. They should be low. If you're a Brisbane Roar, you're a Brisbane team. You play in Brisbane. So they've gone all the way to Redcliffe without no public transport. You've got to have your own car to get there. 1,000 people at the game. Come on. If we're talking about the game to collapse, it's close to collapse now. Angelo?
Oh, look, I think, Carlos talked about the demographics, I mean,
Exactly.
when these clubs like MacArthur and Western United put a bid on the table, there was a lot of, obviously, there was a lot of criterions.
Yes.
And these guys promised the world. They showed the demographics, they showed the crowd, the appeal, the scientific part of people that could go to the game and this and that and the other. But right now, someone is not doing the work. I mean, and you can't just go and charge $60 for a game, for people to attend the game. I mean, that is the worst thing you can do. Drive people right away because they can watch it on television.
Can I tell you how much?
And I think
just before you start, can I tell you how much it costs to go and see an AFL game? Can I tell you how much?
No, I wouldn't have a clue now.
I know.
Sorry.
$22.
Well, there you go. There you go, Harry. I mean, when we started Adelaide United, I know it's a long time ago, but we were charging $10 on the terraces. $10 from the eastern, western stand, and the grandstand obviously was $20, $25. But on the outer, people behind the goals and that, to fill the stadium, we charged $10. I know it was the first year, but now $45, $60. I mean, to go to a game and then not do the marketing things they need to do, the simple things. I don't know if they're doing it or not doing it, but there's a lot of simple things that cost zero, do not cost you any money, that you need to do to reach the community, and all that sort of thing.
Now, let me just say, Carlos, as well, is that when the AFL, we're going to talk about promotion of the AFL here right now, once a year, and I'm sure this happens in the NRL, probably in the rest of the states too. They have a gold coin game. They make it so that you pay $1 and get in. I mean that's ridiculous, and that's for charity, by the way. That's for charity. So that is ridiculous. That you know what I'm saying, Angelo? I mean, they've got it right.
Well, look, Harry, I'll tell you on the same thing that you're saying now, Carlos. In Napoli, obviously, I'm a Napoli fan. I go to the games and the main games. De Laurentiis, who's the owner of Napoli,
yes,
with the teams that are lesser important, the bottom teams, like the bottom 6 or 7 teams, he actually lowers all the prices.
My God.
Like for example, can you think that in Italy you pay like something like 12 euros? 12 euros is like nearly $20. Okay, for kids to come in, you can get a family ticket and all that sort. He just lowers the price. He gets a full stadium. I mean, I know we've got COVID at the moment, but he's been doing this for the last 10 years.
My God.
I mean, even in Italy, they think about lowering the costs, to go to. When I hear, like Carlos was saying, $45 and $60, I mean, that's driving people right away.
And that's kids too. Kids got to pay that to get in too.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, the kids get in free, but, you're going to the ground is for a walk-up family of 4. So mum and dad and 2 kids. And if they haven't got a season pass, by the time you walk into the ground, pay your ticket. Say you get the cheapest around 50, the kids might be free because they might be under 10, they're walking free. And you buy a soft drink and a hot dog, you don't have much change from $100.
You don't. It's crazy.
I mean,
that's
I love
right.
NFL. I used to take my own sandwich to sit on the hill because I was a poor student. You can't do that anymore, right? You can't take little
Absolutely.
picnic pack and sit on the hill and
Yes.
have your sandwiches. Of course, students, I always take my own food with me, right?
Exactly.
It's a different day, different era altogether. Now,
Yes.
if you take your water bottle, that's about it.
That's it.
But you take your own food, and that the security gives you a funny look.
I know. Look,
Yeah, well,
we're going to go back to demographics again, like you say too, Carlos, as well. I'm going to talk about Western United this time. I mean, I honestly cannot believe that they can't build their own stadium, which was put into the contract. If they got in, they'd build their own stadium. They're trying to build it. We don't know what's going on. They've said they've turned the soil now, but we're talking about them playing in Geelong, Ballarat. I can't believe it's Ballarat. They're playing at also South Melbourne wouldn't allow them to play at Lakeside, so they're playing now at Amy Park. I mean, where does this team belong? Where does this team belong as in the demographics? They call Western United. Now, Western United, the west of Melbourne. Please go and play your games in the west. But all the way down to Geelong and Ballarat, where people have to travel more than an hour? Come on, guys. I mean, it's getting to this point where, yes, the FFA say, yeah, we've given it to the right people. Western United, MacArthur Bulls are giving it to the right people. Are we for real? Nothing's happening. This is the thing, Angelo.
yeah, Western United, I knew Lou Sticker. I've known him for many years.
Yeah.
He was involved at the beginning. He's no longer involved now. But
Yeah.
but again, when these teams put up this bid, they've got so much money. They're sustainable for 10 years. The demographics, you're talking about the crowd, the affinity with the community, and they're talking about growing the crowds in 10 years, after 2-3 years. They've got a plan, but then when they participate in the league, it all falls away.
It does.
And who's monitoring? Who is monitoring these new teams to meet the targets and to meet the criteria they set out?
I mean, I would like to, the Wellington Phoenix to be allowed to stay in the league, which is an unusual exemption. The FIFA allowed a team from New Zealand to be part of our league.
Oceania, yeah.
Because they had some benchmarks they had to meet, which is improve crowds and marketing. They met the benchmarks, therefore they were allowed to renew their license. I would like to know what are the penalties for not meeting those benchmarks that you obviously met,
Carlos.
and you got the gig. But you got to feel sorry for John Aloisi and his players, and Milicic and his players, because they're doing their best, the very best, under difficult circumstances. The players and the coaching staff are not to blame for the debacle of the owners who promised the earth and gave us nothing. They're just the meat in the sandwich. They're doing the best they can. I think South Melbourne has done themselves a lot of damage for them to move forward by refusing to share Lakeside for Western United when they were like football gypsy. They said, no, we're not sharing that, blah, blah, petty politics. That will come back to haunt you, South Melbourne. I'm sorry, Harry.
Well,
in South Melbourne, but for me, it was an example of not having a bigger picture. Yes, we'll help you because we don't know when you could help us. And Aloisi and his players are doing the best they can. But if I like to know what are the penalties if Western United do not fulfil the criteria, that we get kicked them out? Do we relegate them to the second division? No one knows, and that's the unfortunate part of the bidding process.
And this is
Carlos. They've also got Alessandro. They've also got Alessandro Diamante, who's played at West Ham United.
He's an amazing player.
He is an amazing player, but he's also a great personality. You've all seen him. He's a great. And I don't know whether they're building that hero status, like you said, Carlos, or quite rightly. It's not the coach's fault or the players. But what are the people off the park doing to build that hero status? They're going to the community, they're going to the shop. I know that, that sort of thing.
Just as well that Alessandro Diamante is not playing in China or is Chinese born, because the Chinese government just told all these national players to get rid of all the ink. Did you see that? Did you read the edict from the Chinese government?
Yes.
Whoa, there's all sorts of things happening in China now.
Well,
The Chinese government said all the national players have to be ink-free.
Unbelievable.
Imagine if the monkey was born in China. Poor man.
Yes.
He's in the laser table.
Oh, of course. Now, what you said to before, Carlos, you also said star status. Star status. Let me tell you about star status in the NSL. Star status. Now, and the gentleman that we have next week is Chris Calafatides, right? Okay. Chris Calafatides was a 1978 player at South Melbourne. Okay. Now he played in the Phillips League. We're talking Phillips League '78. And you know also, Angelo, you would know this yourself. When they started to make footy cards for the Phillips League players, now football cards, that gave them star status. Kids used to collect them. Kids used to have them and collect them. Now, what's going on here? I mean, it's just a simple little thing. All these football cards I have in the AFL, NRL, we had them in the NSL. We had them. Angelo, how simple is this?
Yes.
How simple is
Oh,
it?
that's, well, as I said, I think really we're talking about costless things, you know,
Yes,
like marketing,
yes.
simple marketing
That's
that don't
marketing.
cost any money.
That's
The
right.
Phillips League, as you said, you know, I remember the late Les Murray was on Channel 10. You know, I mean, back in those days, just remember the journey that we've been through with the sport.
Yes.
And again, it is a crucial time, and unfortunately, a lot of the A-League clubs are not doing the simple marketing things about going to the community.
Yes, yes.
And if they are, like Carlos said, it's not being publicised. Like he was saying, Western United's done it, but you need to communicate that.
Yeah.
You need to say that, yes, we're doing this. Yes, we are very, very warm-hearted to the community.
Yep.
We go to the hospitals, we go to the shopping centres, and we take our team to train with an NPL side, you know, down there to throw a barbecue, raise some money, you know, give away some tickets. You know, a lot of these simple marketing things, I don't know whether the A-League clubs are doing.
No,
You know?
and
I'm talking about prior to the COVID.
Yes.
I'm talking about.
Let me tell you a few weeks ago what happened in what promotion they did at Western United, and I was actually it was the most ridiculous promotion. It was on Channel 10, and they were down there at their area where they're supposed to be building their stadium out there, and guess what they were doing? They had two players there, their CEO there, and guess what they were doing? Turning soil in the middle of nowhere. I mean, is that a promotion or what? This is ridiculous.
Oh, that's I mean, Harry, you just reminded me of, you know, like with Adelaide United, 2 weeks prior to each home game,
Yeah.
we would have a giant billboard like 20, you know, on wheels.
Yes.
We would go through the main streets like Hutt Street, Rundle Street, where
Yes.
all the coffees and,
Yes.
you know, the
No, well,
eateries were.
no,
we
no,
were right
well.
through promoting the game, you know. Like in 2 weeks' time, Adelaide United was versus Brisbane or Sydney City or whatever, and we would have all the match day entertainment.
Yep.
Promoting it, publicising, obviously pre-game you'd have entertainment. I don't know whether these guys do it, but we used to have bands, we used to have clowns, we used to have
Fantastic.
lots of variety of stuff, you know.
Let me tell
And we used to promote it though. 2 weeks before the game, come at Adelaide United 7:30. We used to promote the time, you know, which is very important because now TV drives the times. There's always different times of the, you know,
Yep.
and promotion and marketing is very important. That's another simple strategy that doesn't cost a lot of money.
And Carlos, I'll tell you this right now, Carlos. I've been following the MLS and I've been following the NASL, North American Soccer League, before it collapsed after Mr. Camiso had it and it was his. And we know who Mr. Camiso is, Rocco. He also owns, we're talking about New York Cosmos. They're playing in the NISL in America at the moment. And do you know what the New York Cosmos do there in the middle of New York, Carlos and Angelo, what they do? Do you realise that they?
Oh, now they go and play soccer in Madison Avenue.
In the middle of the city, yes, in the middle of the city, they start setting up a little football pitch there, and the players come out there, and the kids come in and play with them. Come on, man.
That's brilliant.
That
brilliant.
Is
awesome.
And this is Rocco Camiso.
That is awesome.
Rocco's doing this. For God's sakes, man! If they can't find ways of looking at other leagues, how they're promoting clubs and everything, they've got something wrong here, as far as I'm concerned. You know?
I am sure that a lot of coaches from the A League, you know, and many coaches go overseas and spend time in other clubs like Barcelona or England or whatever. But a lot of coaches do that for their own education and further education. So hopefully the APL and the CEOs of the APL, we got people with knowledge. Melbourne City Group have a lot of marketing knowledge and a lot of wisdom there because they buy clubs and they develop the clubs and the clubs do really well in whatever country they're in. So hopefully, the powers to be go on exchange, go and visit other clubs and see what they're doing, and they bring the best ideas that work overseas, and we make them our own, and hopefully we will see some. At the moment, if a lot of planning is happening for the better of the game and the growth of the game, we don't know what's happening, and we need to know what the big picture and the vision is for the game to grow.
Exactly.
Because this uncertainty or not knowing what the vision is driving people away from the grounds.
It is.
Agree. I agree with that as well.
I think it's
totally agree.
And I think, like you said, Carlos, the money situation must change quickly, because if we don't get the money situation right,
look, we just picked up $130 million. FA will get 22 million from that because they pick up as a minority stakeholder in the league. So that money has to be used very strategically and very wisely.
Exactly.
At the grassroots level, we need a second division, and that money will go towards the second division. And we need a full-on youth league with lots of teams.
Yes,
and we need a bigger W league to help the growth of the women's game. And we also need the grassroots are crying out for better facilities. I don't know about Melbourne, but Sydney is exploding with higher densities, high rise, big houses become 2 semi-detached homes or 2 duplexes. But the number of football grounds around the Sydney area has remained static, where the population around Sydney has grown exponentially. So we either go synthetic or we develop more football grounds.
Yes.
But we have to go synthetic. I'm not about Melbourne, but I'm sure Melbourne is the same. The population on the eastern fringe of Melbourne, Melton, Officer, Pakenham is exploding.
Is exploding,
and
they're going synthetic, like you said, and they are going. Some of them are, yes.
Yeah, and then the population of inner Melbourne as well is exploding through high rise and high densities. How many football grounds has inner Melbourne have been coming into the picture? I'm not sure, but Sydney,
yes.
It's tough getting a gig.
That's
trying
right.
to juggle all the games, and the population is growing. We're getting older,
Yes.
so there's more demand for games because the over 45s and the over 60s want to play, but the number of grounds have remained static, where the population has grown tenfold.
That's right.
So we go synthetic, or we develop more football grounds from somewhere. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know, Harry. That's a question for another day.
Another day. Now, thank you very much. I tell you what, good morning, Signore from Italy. Thank you for joining us today, Angelo.
Harry and Carlos, it's a pleasure. You guys are too passionate, and you can tell, Carlos, I agree with what you were saying now in the last couple of minutes. I think you were actually promoting the vision, some of the vision that perhaps the governing body should be doing, communicating it. I think you were talking about demographics, when the crowds grow, when the population grows, you need to take another sample, the scientific part of marketing, to know what people want, because new people are moving into the state. But thank you, Harry.
No,
thank you. It's been a real pleasure. And we'll speak to you soon. I mean, I love speaking about the sport, and hopefully someone is listening out there, and someone will do something about it.
Angelo, thank you very much.
Thank you, Angelo. And lastly, as my Italian grandfather from the Giordano family came from Naples, he never taught us Italian. He spoke a broken Spanish with Italian, but he never taught us Italian. But he will say, prima vede Napoli dopo morire, the children, and he left it at that. And first in Naples,
Bravissimo,
and then
bravissimo, bravissimo. Garibaldi,
Take the time
Garibaldi.
out, Angelo.
Thank you, Harry, and
Thank
thank
you.
you, Carlos. It's a real pleasure.
We'll talk
Thank
soon.
you.
We'll
Thank you,
talk
everyone.
soon. Thank you very much there, Angelo. Guys, are you there, Carlos? I think Carlos is
Yeah, I'm
gone.
here, yeah.
Carlos, to have Angelo from overseas, that far away, the technology that we have to bring people in for the show is amazing, isn't it?
Oh, look, if we did that 30 years ago, it will cost you $1,000 plus.
Yes.
And you probably have to go to a telephone, book a trunk call at the exchange, and it will cost you a bomb. You know, it's just amazing how technology has helped us to bring the world closer together.
Exactly, and we've had people from England, we've had people from America. Now we've got someone from Italy. Where we're going to get the next one from. We'll see which country we get someone else in as well. But I'll tell you what, his knowledge of the game is amazing. His knowledge of the game, he knows the marketing, he knows what needs to be done. That's the sort of person we need in this country, and we are losing these people. We are losing them. They're going overseas. There you go, you know?
No way. You know, the reason he went overseas and his parents moved back to Italy.
Yep.
They became very ill and they died. They left, and like all the Italians, they buy property because they don't, and the Greeks as well, because they endure hunger and poverty. So they make sure they never be short of money. So they buy property, which is passive income. You rent them out, you get money.
And that's what my parents have got too.
You know, he said, I have to move back to look after mum and dad. They died, and then there's lots of properties I have to manage, and he stayed there 12 years. So he lives there, and obviously
it's amazing.
He has a son in Adelaide and a daughter in Sydney. And
that's amazing.
Commute goes back and forth, but it's a very knowledgeable person,
Now, Carlos, I'm going to talk to you about this shirt that I'm wearing. Is it?
I got mine.
Is it?
I got mine.
What do you think of them?
Look, I wish they were cotton.
I get you, but I tell you what, they feel fantastic.
They're good, right? They're great. I mean, I got mine just after Christmas.
Yes.
The Socceroo replica shirt.
Yep, and I've actually got the replica one as well, the 1974 shirt. And guys out there, you can pick one of these up for $70 plus postage, and they look fantastic. Now, Carlos, when you look at the replay and look at the hat that I'm wearing and the colours I'm wearing, it seems to me I've got a whole Australian kit here, because I'm wearing the baggy green and it matches completely with the shirt that I'm wearing, the 74 shirt. That is amazing.
You're such a fashion influencer.
Oh yes,
Harry.
Yes, of course. But it's just amazing that the colours match, and it's amazing. So, guys, you can only get these. Yes, you can only get these right now at $75 plus postage on There Is Only One Football. And don't forget, we're also sponsored by the Sea City Lawyers at Lawyers That Come to You. Is that right? Of course.
That's great, Harry. If the mountains don't come to you, I'll go to the mountains.
Fantastic. Carlos is the proprietor, guys, and our sponsor of Football is. And what's the other show that we do? The onside football chat we do as well. That's coming next Sunday as well, with another guest as well. But let me tell you guys also, Arrow Sports, who make these fantastic outfits available on There Is Only One Football. So you can also go to Arrow Sport and pick up some great apparel as well. Adrian will look after you. But don't forget, guys, There Is Only One Football supply these fantastic shirts for $75. They fit fantastic. The colours are the traditional colours of the 1974 World Cup shirt. I'm wearing it. Looks fantastic on the screen. Carlos, thank you for joining us tonight.
My pleasure always, Harry. We chat next week.
We'll chat next week. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Carlos. Now, guys, as I said to you, these shirts are fantastic to wear. They're comfortable. I tell you what, they're so cool. The replicas here for $75. And I said, guys, There Is Only One Football on that site. There is only one football.com. We couldn't play any music today because of the passing of a friend of mine. Of course, I'm still a bit hit up from this. Ulysses Kokkinos has passed away today, guys, at 73 years of age. A Victorian football legend. And as I've said, we're not playing any music for the respect of the man. So next week we've got Chris Calafatidis. Yes, former South Melbourne champion in Socceroo, will be in the studio right here next to me and Frothy. Hopefully Frothy's getting better, and we'll have him next week in the studio. So we've got a guest in the studio, guys, again. And, of course, Georgie Campbell, set this up for us. Georgie, how are you right now? And guys, don't forget, no music today because of the passing of Ulysses Kokkinos, a very great man, a big football identity in Victoria, guys. Good night, everyone. See you next week for the usual show on Football S at 8:30 p.m. Monday night next week. Good night, guys. Thank you. Hi guys, Harry Sunday here, letting you know that there's a apparel company that supports the game that you love. It's called ThereIsOnlyOneFootball.com, guys. They've got all sorts of stuff, from caps, t-shirts, water bottles, all sorts of accessories, even for your mobile phone. All that sporting stuff you can wear anywhere you want to wear it, guys. That's right. And don't forget the website it's on, ThereIsOnlyOneFootball.com.
There is only one football.